This is what we're going to make today. Some lined drawstring pouches, really quite sweet. Just pull them together. This one's obviously sewing themed, and on the inside are some lovely little heart fabric there. This one again has a sewing theme, I wonder why, and just a nice checked second fabric, and on the inside is more muted beige. Okay, and again you just draw them together. I've used variations of ribbon, just dependent on what I've got in at the time. This is very thin, but actually it has the same effect, so it doesn't really matter. I've put together some little kits, but what you do need is some ribbon. Okay, I've got that folded up there. That's to go in and drawstring the bag. You need some decoration for the front and the back, which I've got there, a little bit of lace. Now I have two 5x7 pieces, that's the lining. I have two 3x1/4 inch pieces, matching pieces, and that can either be the top or the bottom. You can decide on whether you want the smaller bit to be at the top or the bottom. It's entirely up to you. I just do a mixture of both. And then you have 5x4¼ inches, and again there's two of those, and these actually could be either way around on this particular fabric, but I quite like that iridescent fabric. Okay, the first thing to do is to sew your front and back together. I've decided to have the smaller bit at the top and the larger bit, the patterned piece of fabric, at the bottom. So I'm going to put them together. You could pin them, but I'm just going to sew them with a 1/4 inch seam, joining them together. So I'm going to pop them in the machine and set up a 1/4 inch. Okay, and then I tend to hold my ends just so that it doesn't bush up, and then I'll reverse and go down to the other end. Again, back stitch at this end just to secure the threads, and repeat with your other piece. Please excuse the giggles. Unfortunately, I hadn't threaded my machine, so anyway, I've now attached the top and the bottom, and I've done it twice. What you need to do then is, I tend to finger press the seam open. You can get your ironing board out if you like, but I tend to press that open. And what you need to do then is you need to add the decoration. So I'm just going to get my piece of lace, and I'm actually going to sew it just above the line here, and I must make sure that I do it in exactly the same place. Don't worry about the sides because we can trim it off. So I'm going to go away and sew that together now. Okay, so we've got two sides just like this. I haven't sewn the lace down twice because actually it'll be caught in the side seam, so it shouldn't make a lot of difference. I've measured and pinned 1 inch down from the top and 1.5 inches down from the bottom, and that's going to be the channel for the ties. Okay, so you just need to do that at this stage. And then I've got a cotton reel. It's one of my favourite collection here, an old one, but and I'm going to draw around the bottom here just to give a curved base, and I'm going to do that on the front and the back. Just rephrasing that slightly, what I've done is I've drawn around the cotton reel to give the curve. I'm pinning all the layers together. Make sure you get the back and the front the right way round, and I'm going to go through all the layers at once so that I've got the same curve on each of the sections of fabric. So I've just got a small pair of scissors, so I'm hoping they're strong enough to go through. All we need is a little curve, and it just finishes off the bag. I'll show you very shortly. So that's a curve on one side and a curve on the other side. And just let me show you the reason for this. It's just a design feature, and oh, I've got thread everywhere. and it just finishes off the bottom corners. You can end up with box corners, anything you like, but this particular one is just a small gift bag and it looks better with a curved corner. With the front and the back right sides facing, you're now going to stitch around the whole of the outline, apart from where you have got your 1 inch and 1.5 inch pins in. On this particular one I've just drawn using a friction pen just to remind me where they are at the opposite side so that I get them nice and even. So it's not a prerequisite, but if you do that it just ends up a little bit neater. So I'm now going to go round from one side to the other. I'm going to pin this junction here to make sure that my lace is in exactly the same position on both sides. I should hate it to be distorted. And I'll do the same on this side as well. So I'm just going to pin that together. Oops, I'm throwing pins now, which is not such a good thing, but hey. Okay, so now I'm in a position to sew. So I'm going to do 1/4 inch again, which just needs setting up on the side here, and I'm going to get sewing. Don't forget to back stitch when you get to the pin, just to secure it. It has to be secured. So I'm just going to start and back stitch at the start, go down. When I get to the first pin, I'm going to reverse and secure it, and then I'm going to take it off, break the thread and start again at the second pin, which is the 1.5 inch mark. Again, I'm going to start with a back stitch, and then I'm going to continue round the side of the bag. I'll remove the pin as I get to it so that I don't break the needle, which I have done in the past. So I'm going to keep going, and when you get to the corners, just go very, very slowly, because you want to get that curve. And it's really important to just slow down and just take it easy. Use your hand to help it go round the corner, but still try and stay 1/4 inch seam. So that's the first corner done. Go down the bottom. I can speed up a little bit around here. Yours will be a lot neater than mine. It's not so easy when you've got a camera in front of you. Okay, and I'm coming to the corner, so I'm gradually going to pull it round. Okay, and then go up the other side, not forgetting to stop where the pins are. And again, don't do, ooh, I nearly lost it then. I've removed the pin. And I'm going up to where your 1.5 inch line is with the pin. I'm going to just remove the pin, and I'm going to back stitch there. And again, don't forget to secure it, and don't forget the gap. It's really important you have that gap, because that's the gully for the ribbon at the next stage. And now I haven't quite finished. I've just got the top bit to do as well. Okay, and I've got another pin in there, so I need to remove my pins. I've got them on both sides. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so just about to go to the top. Here we go. And I've been all the way around, leaving a gap for where the ribbon is going to go. Okay, thank you. Just to reiterate, I have sewn from the top edge down to the inch mark, and I've back stitched in between so it's nice and secure. I've left a gap, and from the 1.5 inch mark I've sewn all the way around the bag up to the other side, stopped at the 1.5 inch mark and back stitched, started again at the inch mark and gone to the top and made sure the threads are nice and secure in between. What you're going to do next is you're going to do the same with your lining, but you're going to sew the whole of the way round, but leaving a gap of about 1.5 inches at the bottom, and that's for turning, and then you're going to go up to the top. Do not leave any gaps at the side here. Your gap on the lining is about 1.5 inches at the bottom. So on this one, on the lining, you start at the top, go all the way down to the bottom. Again, I've got lots of ends hanging, and I stop at the bottom and leave about 1.5 inch gap, and then I start again securing up to the top, and the top bit is left open. Can't get hold of it in my fingers now, but there we go. turn your lining right side out and just push around the corners, okay, and turn your main fabric right side out, and again push around the corners just to get that curve. Okay, hello, you monkey. What you need to do next is make sure the corners are rounded. I use the trusted product tool that my dad made for me, and it just means that you've got a really nice finish on the inside, okay? And you do the same with the lining. What you need to do then is you need to put both together. You've turned the outside the right way out and the inside is the wrong way out. So you want right sides to right sides. Okay. And they need to be well positioned in. And then I'm going to put a pin at the top. It's fraying a little bit. It's that sort of fabric, so don't worry too much. Try and get it as close to the seam as you possibly can, because it will be noticeable. I'm going to pop a pin in that side, and I'm also going to put a pin in this side. Okay, apologise if there's a bit of noise in the background. Okay, youngest daughter's just got up, so it's quite lively in the house, which is lovely. Well, I'm trying to put 2 pins in. Okay, and I'm going to stop there. Now, they're pinned. I'm going to carefully stitch 1/4 inch around the top, the whole of the top of the bag. This is slightly fiddly. It's not possible to remove this section of the machine. It just won't go through. So you've just got to do it nice and steadily. Again, it's 1/4 inch. Just move the fabric out the way and just sew around that top section, 1/4 inch, and back stitch at either end. Okay. Nice and slowly. I'm going to take the pin out in a second, if I can. And where is the pin? Oh, it's on the outside. Okay, that's easily got rid of. And I'm going to carry on around here. So if you can't see it too well at the moment. Again, just keep going nice and steadily over the seam so it doesn't pucker. And keep going all the way around, making sure that the top and bottom, sorry, the top seams are matching on the inside and the outside fabric panels. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. It's slightly moved there, so I'll just tuck it back down. As you can see, it's not too difficult. You just need to do it nice and slowly. She says, speeding up. Let's go around the corner. So you're encasing the top section of your drawstring bag. I'm just going to back stitch now to secure it, and I'm going to break the threads off. Okay, so just to reiterate, I've sewn around the whole of the top of the bag. What you need to do now is turn the bag through. So there's a little hole on your lining, about 1.5 inches, and you're just going to pull your bag through. That hole slightly too small with me, but it doesn't matter, it's less to sew up at the end anyway. And what you'll find is you will have a completed bag, and the lining will be neatly attached. So it's attached, can you see? The only thing that you need to do now is you need to just zigzag up. It doesn't really matter what colour your thread is, but you're going to zigzag that opening, which mine's frayed a little bit. I'm just going to pull it together and I'm going to zigzag that opening, and then I'll continue. I've zigzagged mine in blue. It's not perfect, but it's just to show you. And then what you need to do is you push the lining into the main part of the bag. You should get your hand in there a little bit, but again, you could use your prodder tool or your chopsticks just to position it. And then you just need to ease at the top the fabric and you're going to finger press again. I've not got the ironing board out yet, but at the very end I will iron the bag just to make sure it's nice and flat. But I'm just finger pressing the two round so that I have got a top seam. What you are then going to do is you are going to stitch all the way round at the top of your small gap for the ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to stitch all the way around, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around the bottom section. To make it a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line with a friction pen, but you could use your machine foot, or you can have a stand at the side just to get the same distance round. Okay, I'm now going to sew right round the bag, back stitching at each point on these two marks. Okay, sewing around the top twice to leave a gap for the ribbon is quite fiddly. So I've turned my bag back inside out again. I'm going to slide it underneath the machine. I'm going to get the needle position as far left as I possibly can. I'm going to do my first line round like that, back stitching, and I've extended my stitch length just by a fraction because you're going through a few more layers. And when you go through the side seams, just go very slowly, because again you've got a number of layers in there. It is quite fiddly, but it's well worth the effort because you get a really nice lined gift bag that anybody would be proud to be given. Okay, I'm nearly around the first time, just little tiny bits at a time. Again, I'm getting a little bit caught in my machine, but it's bound to happen. If you did a bigger version, then you probably would find this a little bit easier, but it's just, I like this size. Okay, it's secured off. So that's the first one round. Again, I've got threads everywhere. It's just me. I'm going to trim those loose threads off. Okay, sorry about hands everywhere. And I'm going to do my second line, which is going to be, where are we on here? I'm going to level up to, I've got 1, 2, 3, my fourth line on the grid on my sewing machine. But actually, if I again set the machine foot up to the previous line, I should be okay. So I'm just going to go around like that and just hope that I can get round and the gaps be in the right places, which I'm sure they will be.